A cheetah can cross the savannah at nearly 70 miles per hour, burning enormous energy with every stride. Your car reaches the same speed using 4 simple wheels. So here's the strange question. If wheels are so effective, why didn't evolution ever give one to a large animal? For nearly 4 billion years, life has experimented with almost everything imaginable. It evolved wings, sonar, camouflage, venom, electric organs, and microscopic machines that spin thousands of times per second. But a true, self-powered wheel attached to a large animal? Nothing. And it's not that evolution lacked imagination. The problem is that a biological wheel has to obey rules a machine never has to. It has to stay alive. It has to receive nutrients. It has to heal. And somehow it has to rotate continuously without twisting its own blood vessels and nerves apart. So why does biology seem to hate wheels? The answer comes down to 3 brutal problems: living tissue, unpredictable terrain, and scale. Welcome back to Imtisk, where we uncover the hidden rules behind the strangest mysteries in science. At first, a wheel seems like the perfect invention. It rolls instead of dragging. It moves efficiently. Humans built an entire civilization around it. But there's a huge difference between building a wheel from metal and growing one from living tissue. A machine can have a sealed bearing. It can use a lubricated axle. It can have a damaged tire replaced. A living animal can't simply visit a mechanic. And that creates our first problem, point 1, the blood. Problem: every large animal limb is alive. Its cells need oxygen and nutrients, and waste has to be carried away. That means blood vessels and nerves have to connect the limb to the rest of the body. Now imagine replacing a leg with a wheel. It spins continuously around an axle. But the blood vessels feeding it would have to survive that constant motion. If they simply twist along with the wheel, they'd tangle and circulation would fail. Biology would need something like a sophisticated rotating seal, letting blood vessels and nerves stay connected while the limb spins freely. Engineers can build that from metal and rubber. Growing it from living tissue is another matter entirely, and even if that problem were solved, a new one appears. What happens when the wheel gets damaged? A living leg can close wounds and rebuild bone. But a wheel constantly grinding against the ground would wear down fast, and a crack or puncture could become serious. You could build the outer layer from dead tissue, like the keratin in a hoof, but dead tissue can't repair itself from the inside. So the perfect biological wheel would need to be tough enough to survive friction, yet alive enough to heal. That's an almost impossible combination. And biology has another problem waiting right outside the body, too. The terrain problema wheel works beautifully on a road. But nature never built roads. Picture a wild forest. Rocks, roots, the mud, fallen branches, slopes, sand, sudden drops. A wheel wants a smooth, predictable surface. Legs are built for chaos instead. A leg doesn't need to roll continuously. It can step over an obstacle, change direction instantly, or plant itself on a tiny patch of solid ground. A mountain goat can climb terrain that would stop a wheeled machine cold. That's why the natural world favors feet. Even energy efficiency works in favor of legs. When animals walk, their limbs behave partly like inverted pendulums. Letting them recover some energy with every step instead of constantly pushing their whole body forward. On uneven ground, they can also change the length and angle of each limb, step by step. A wheel can't decide to step over a rock. It has to roll straight through it, obstacle or not. Which brings us to an even deeper problem, one buried in evolution itself. Point 3. The evolution can't. Plan the finished wheel evolution doesn't look millions of years ahead and decide, let's build a wheel. Every change has to work with what already exists. A slightly stronger leg helps an animal survive today. A longer limb improves running today. But a half-formed wheel would be useless the moment it appeared. Awkward, unstable, and a liability, long before it became anything functional. This is exactly why evolutionary pathways matter so much. Nature doesn't design finished machines. It reshapes what's already working, the one small step at a time. Still, nature has found bizarre ways to fake a wheel. The golden wheel spider curls into a ball and rolls down sand dunes to escape predators. The tumbleweeds roll across deserts in the wind. But neither is a true biological wheel. One is a body folded into a rolling shape. The other is a dead plant part being pushed by the weather. So does nature have zero rotating biological machines? Actually, it does. And this is where the story gets strange for the microscopic wheel shrink down to the microscopic world, and something astonishing shows up. Bacteria like E. coli carry tiny rotary motors. Their flagellum, a whip-like tail, doesn't just wave back and forth. It rotates, powered by a molecular machine at its base, built from parts that act like a rotor and a stator. Nature actually built a rotary motor. So why does this work for a bacterium but not a cheetah? The answer is scale. A bacterium is small enough that it doesn't need a circulatory system running through it. Nutrients simply diffuse across its membrane. There's no network of blood vessels to tangle inside a spinning structure. At microscopic scales, fluid behaves completely differently too. For a tiny organism, water feels thick and resistant, and a simple paddling motion barely works. A rotating helical tail, though, can cut through that resistance efficiently. The physics hasn't changed, but the balance of forces has, and that's exactly where rotary motion becomes useful. So nature didn't reject the wheel. It just found the one scale where a living rotary machine actually makes sense. The real mystery isn't why evolution failed to invent the wheel. It's why the wheel works so well for machines, yet becomes almost impossible for large living bodies. The wheel needs a controlled surface. A biological one would need blood flow, nerves, constant repair, and protection from non-stop damage. And wild animals don't get to live on smooth highways. They climb, jump, turn, dig, and survive terrain that changes every second. That's why legs aren't a worse version of wheels. They're a completely different solution to a much harder problem: how to move a living body through an unpredictable world. And yet, at the microscopic level, the nature-built rotary machines millions of times smaller than a grain of sand. So, maybe biology doesn't hate wheels after all. Maybe it just knows exactly where they work. If you enjoyed this mystery, subscribe to Imtisk, and click here to discover another bizarre engineering problem that evolution solved in a way humans never could.